Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
Republicans wage 11th-hour blitz in PA. Special election. Moon Township, Pennsylvania. Republicans mounted a last-ditch stand here to save their struggling candidate for a House seat deep in the heart of Trump country, unleashing the party's full arsenal to stave off a major embarrassment for the president and GOP heading into the midterms. Nearly every corner of the National Party was involved in the final push over the weekend, from the Republican National Committee, which deployed staffers from Washington to knock on doors, to a cash-flush GOP super PAC that orchestrated an under-the-radar effort to diminish Democratic hopeful Conor Lamb standing with liberal voters, to the powerful Koch political network, which is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a mail and field deployment campaign ahead of Tuesday's closely watched special election. And then there was President Donald Trump, who flew here on Saturday evening to campaign with Republican nominee Rick Saccone, an appearance the White House hopes will energize GOP voters who've yet to rally behind the underperforming candidate. The multi-million-dollar undertaking underscored the enormous stakes for the party in the southwestern Pennsylvania district, which Trump won by 20 points but where polls show Lamb and Saccone locked in a tight race. A loss here would be an ominous sign for the party in the run-up to November, starkly illustrating its softening support even in Trump's strongholds. It would also raise questions about whether the themes the GOP has thrust to the forefront of the race, namely its tax cuts and opposition to House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, are as potent as the party had hoped. By the end of the weekend, Republicans had dropped more than $8 million on TV ads, outspending Democrats nearly 2-1, according to media buying figures. In an indication of just how much capital the administration is expending on the contest, Donald Trump Jr. is slated to campaign with Saccone on Monday, 2 days after his father staged a rally. As the contest hurtled into its final days, Lamb, a square-jawed 33-year-old Marine veteran and former federal prosecutor who has appealed to voters in both parties, presented himself as a consummate underdog. Addressing a standing-room-only rally at the Greene County Fairgrounds in Waynesburg on Sunday afternoon, Lamb said the grassroots support he'd received had allowed him to withstand the advertising barrage from Republican-aligned outside groups. They used these same tactics everywhere around the country, but I think when they came to western Pennsylvania, they weren't counting on what they were going to find here, he said. At a rally with Lamb at the United Steelworkers headquarters in downtown Pittsburgh on Friday, Democratic Representative Mike Doyle, the dean of the state's congressional delegation, marveled at how much Republicans had spent on the race. The president comes in for his second visit, the vice president has been here, Ivanka's been here, cabinet secretaries have been here, 10 kitchen sinks has been thrown here, $15 million has been spent here, and that Marine is still standing, Doyle exclaimed. Yet there's evidence the Republican offensive might be having some effect. A data analysis completed by the RNC during the middle of last week showed Lamb leading just 48% to 47%, according to two people briefed on the numbers. The Democrats' advantage had shrunk from 4 percentage points in the committee's previous analysis of the race days earlier. Saccone, a 60-year-old state legislator and retired Air Force officer, was optimistic that momentum was swinging our way. It's a special election, so it's all about turnout, Saccone said at the Allegheny County Republican Party headquarters on Friday, when he was asked why the race was so close. Our people get out, we win, and there's no problem. But Saccone vented frustration at the media for their coverage of the race, saying they had given Lamb flattering coverage while largely ignoring Saccone's accomplishments. The media fawns over my opponent, trying to stretch his little thin resume and trying to make it sound like it's something big, when I have a big resume that they try and scrunch down and don't say anything about, he said. Senior Republicans have called Saccone a lackluster candidate who has heavily leaned on the National Party to run his campaign. Trump himself has been down on Saccone in private. At the rally, the president tried to gin up some excitement for him. Trump described Saucony as a really good person, told his supporters to go out on Tuesday and vote like crazy, and highlighted his decision to impose tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. Party officials hope the tariffs announcement will win over labor workers in the union-heavy district. At the same time, Republicans are trying to dampen Lamb's support among liberals, whom he needs to show up in big numbers in order to win. Congressional Leadership Fund, a House GOP-aligned outside group, sent mailers to liberal households in the district outlining Lamb's pro-gun credentials and his support for the Second Amendment. "Thank you, Conor Lamb, for opposing gun restrictions," say the mailers. The Super PAC has also sent advertisements to Democratic voters saying that Lamb had opposed a $15 minimum wage and that he abandoned PA labor unions, who were outraged by him. Lamb was concerned enough about the GOP maneuver that late last week he launched a TV ad to explain his views on guns. The commercial said Lamb supports strengthening background checks to keep guns from criminals and people in need of mental health treatment. As they funneled into Trump's rally on Saturday, some of the president's supporters conceded they were worried. They said Lamb had waged a surprisingly energetic campaign for such a conservative district. "I've seen a lot more Conor Lamb signs in my neighborhood," said Tracy Bardson, a 45-year-old stay-at-home mom whose 13-year-old son, Gavin, wore a Trump hat signed by Mike Pence. "A lot of people I've heard from who are voting for Conor Lamb are doing so because of his age, him being younger, and looking at it that he has fresh ideas," she added. A loss on Tuesday would be a painful blow for Republicans, given the pro-Trump tilt of the district and the importance the president has placed on Pennsylvania. The state was a keystone of Trump's 2016 electoral coalition, and he has visited a handful of times since his inauguration. Before his visit on Saturday, some of the president's loyalists questioned whether Trump should skip the campaign event, worried that he'd take even more blame if Saucony loses. But others argued the president had little to lose. "If Saucony somehow loses on Tuesday, regardless of whether the president made the trip on Saturday or not, the media will blame the president," said David Durbin, who oversaw Trump's 2016 campaign in the state. "It reminds me of, heads I lose, tails you win." Trump administration to aid states in firearms training for teachers, school staff. The White House on Sunday night announced backing for a new Justice Department program that would aid states that seek to train teachers and other school personnel to carry firearms, as part of a package of steps to curb school violence. In addition, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos will chair a government commission exploring steps to prevent school violence, following the Parkland, Florida, shooting last month that left 17 dead, the Trump administration said. "We are committed to working quickly because there's no time to waste," DeVos said on a conference call with reporters. "No student, no family, no teacher and no school should have to live the horror of Parkland or Sandy Hook or Columbine again." DeVos said the commission would include teachers. A senior administration official on the call said that it was expected the work would be completed within a year. The official said existing Justice Department funds would be used to assist states and local law enforcement groups that want to bolster their armed school personnel programs. The administration said the commission will address issues such as whether to repeal Obama-era school discipline efforts, the impact of video games on youth violence and the effects of press coverage of mass violence. As part of the package that Andrew Brimberg, the director of the White House Domestic Policy Council, called immediate policy proposals, the administration said it was putting its support behind a bill by Senators John Cornyn, Republican Texas, and Chris Murphy, Democrat Connecticut, designed to improve background checks for gun purchases. The White House also backed a bill that's been dubbed the Stop School Violence Act that would essentially repurpose a $50 million Justice Department program focused on school safety. The administration called on states to adopt extreme risk protection orders that allow states to remove firearms from individuals who are a demonstrated threat to themselves or others and called for an audit of the FBI's tip line. The proposal did not include calling for raising the age to 21 for the purchases of some rifles, an idea Trump has said he backs. The senior administration official said the issue of how states are addressing the age restrictions will be addressed by the commission. The proposal did say the administration would support the transition of military veterans and retired police officers who want to go into teaching. It also said the administration would encourage attorneys general in the states to audit school district compliance with state emergency preparedness activities. On the mental health front, the administration called for review of privacy laws to determine if any changes or clarifications are needed to improve coordination between mental health and other healthcare professionals, school officials and law enforcement personnel. Democrats criticized Trump's proposals for not going far enough to stop school violence. The White House has taken tiny baby steps designed not to upset the National Rifle Association, when the gun violence epidemic in this country demands that giant steps be taken, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said in a statement. Democrats in the Senate will push to go further, including passing universal background checks, actual federal legislation on protection orders, and a debate on banning assault weapons. DeVos said in an interview airing on CBS News 60 Minutes on Sunday that she believes arming teachers should be an option for states and communities to consider, though said she could never imagine her own first-grade teacher being armed in the classroom. I have actually asked to head up a task force that will really look at what states are doing, DeVos said, according to an advance transcript. See, there are a lot of states that are addressing these issues in very cohesive and coherent ways. Despite the administration's support, many teachers and establishment education groups have voiced opposition to arming teachers. They've said they are concerned about accidental discharges and changing classroom dynamics if more guns are in schools. DeVos last week visited the site of the mass shooting, Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, and said at the time she'd be putting out more recommendations on school safety. As for guns in the classroom, for those teachers who are capable, this is one solution that can and should be considered, DeVos told 60 Minutes. But no one size fits all. Every state and every community is going to address this issue in a different way. Trump has previously called for arming teachers as a strategy to protect schools from shooters, though he has also said the decision should be up to states. Trump has also talked about hardening schools, strengthening background checks and raising the age for gun purchases. And last week he met with video game executives at the White House after suggesting that graphic content and games could be a factor in mass shootings. During the interview with Leslie Stahl, DeVos also defended her tenure in the Trump administration and her school choice proposals. Asked why she had become the most hated cabinet secretary, DeVos said that she's not sure exactly how that happened. But I think there are a lot of really powerful forces allied against change, she said, adding that I'm more misunderstood than anything. DeVos and her husband, Dick, are billionaires with deep Michigan ties who successfully pushed pro-charter school policies in their home state, donating millions to lawmakers and the state Republican Party. Their influence is reflected in just about every major piece of education-related legislation in Michigan since the 1990s. DeVos said she didn't know whether the public schools in Michigan improved following the school choice policies she pushed in the state. I can't say overall that they have all gotten better, she said. Michigan schools need to do better, DeVos said. There is no doubt about it. Asked whether she had visited poor-performing schools in the state, DeVos said, I have not intentionally visited schools that are underperforming. But, she conceded, maybe I should. DeVos is also scheduled to appear Monday morning on NBC's Today Show.